Welcome back to Kevin Pollak's Chat Show. I am, as always, Chat Show. How the hell are you? And I mean it, damn it. You've written to us at kpcsfanmail@gmail.com. And I'm going to be reading a couple of your emails because you've all caught on to me starting the show by saying, how the hell are you? And a lot of your replies have been very sincere, telling me how you're doing. And so I wanted to address that and be a little more open about my utter lack of interest in how you're actually doing. It was all meant to be. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I really do care. So please keep telling me how you're doing. But I do also love those of you who play the comedy of it, which is you keep asking and you've ruined my life. So let me get to one of those now if I can find the damn thing, because it really did strike me as funny. I'm probably going to take 16 minutes trying to find it among my notes, because this is what happens. You get a certain age and you can't find anything. But for those of you that missed Jamie from these proceedings, just know she's out there right now laughing uncontrollably because the old fuck can't find anything. Nope, still can't do it. I've only got 72 more pages. Yep, found him. Okay. Here we go. Let's see. Nope. Didn't find them. My guests are enjoying this. For those of you wondering, they too have grandparents, and they probably haven't had a chance to laugh at their grandparents in the past. So this is a big thrill for everyone. I know I printed the fan mails, and I'm just not going to give up. And I can't wait to talk. Could this be it, even though it's the wrong date? Yeah, it had the wrong date, okay. To get to the very point, I looked at this piece of paper 6 times while I was looking, just to be clear. Hey, Chat Show, you've been asking, so I'll keep telling you everything is fine with me because, let's face it, we don't know each other. You don't need to know that I'm broke, overweight, and the marriage isn't going so well these days. Our kids drive me nuts. Or I'd gladly chuck it all if I thought there was even a chance for a fleeting glimpse of happiness just before the fade to black. There isn't anything you can do about it, so why would you want that info in your life? Why do you keep asking? Are you just that desperate for validation that someone is listening, that you're willing to endure this kind of info? You don't actually enjoy this, do you? Seek help, Kevin. I think you have some real issues to work through, and I'd like the show. So I don't want you to flip out and stop. Anyway, I heard you had some kind of project on the inner tubes, but you haven't really given out any details. Is it any good or won any awards? Keep up the good work. And in between that, it says, keep up the saying the line smarter people write for you. Later, Gator, Todd in Michigan. Todd, you know, you've written so many times, so many emails on the site that I've ignored over the years, and I just felt like this really did cut to the heart of everything. It says so very much about you. It says a great deal about me, and that you're in Michigan. Thank you for your incredibly dry, droll, and barely confusing sense of humor. I saw right through you. And it made me laugh really, really hard. What are my kind of project on the inner tubes? Well, I launched a all-improvised comedy podcast that I created and cast that I'm annoyingly proud of called Alchemy This. Check that out wherever you get your podcast. That might be it that you're referring to. But thank you for writing to us. And I'm going to get to our guests now because they've suffered enough. Keep writing to us at kpcsfanmail@gmail.com. For those of you who give a good goddamn, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel Season 2 dropped on Amazon Prime, and it's there when you're ready for it. The Broadcast Critics Awards were last night, and we were returning champions as Best Comedy, and we fucking won again. It's really bizarre. At some point, you can feel... It's palpable in the room. People at these award shows have had it with our show. They really have. And it's kind of funny. It's actually great that we did not win the Golden Globe to the Kaminsky Method, might be the name of the show. Yeah, I think so. Alan Arkin and Michael Douglas. And also on that great night at the Golden Globes, Michael Douglas won for Best Actor in a Comedy TV Show over Sacha Baron Cohen, Jim Carrey, and Bill Hader. So that happened. But yeah, so Rachel won again last night, and Alex Borstein won. Once again, Tony Shalhoub did not win. He keeps losing to Henry Winkler, which we're all very happy about. We keep celebrating and shoving in his face. But the show won again. And yeah, we went up there. And when they announced the nominees, we got the biggest applause. But then when they announced that we won, that applause was nowhere to be found. It was like, we really like your show. Fuck. They won again. So it's an interesting thing. It's all surreal. But I did get a chance to talk to Christian Bale, who won a couple things last night for his brilliant work in Vice. That was enjoyable. I spoke with Julie Roberts, who I met very briefly because she did Homecoming on Amazon, and because we're on the same network, when there was like a press event thing, we met briefly and sort of marveled at the fact that we hadn't worked together, and we both felt pretty good about it. But she greeted me last night as we were sitting inches apart at the Amazon tables. She greeted me like we were old friends, and she was excited to see me. So it could be that she didn't know who I was. That's possible. Or that she didn't know anyone else there, because her sweet, wonderful reaction seemed inappropriate to me. As a non-self-loathing Jew, I was surprised. Lady Gaga's dress snagged as she walked past me. We made eye contact, and I said, uh-oh. And she said, I've got it. That was the exchange we had. That was marvelous. I'm trying to think of any highlights. That's it. That's all I got for you. Let's get to our guest, please. Have been so very, very kind. I am excited to have them on this show because a conversation took place on Larry King's show when I subbed in for him, and I felt like, do I get a copy of this? Why is this not in my archives? I said Katy Colloton correctly the first time, and based on her nodding, I've said it correctly again. And Katy O'Brien, welcome.
You nailed it.
To both of
you.
And the life you are living, can we just say, we came in, let's start with Maisel.
Sure, why
not? Can we
not?
just kick it off?
Yeah.
Because we're huge
The backlash is not in this room?
No. We are firm supporters, and we're glad you guys won. We were clapping along.
Aw.
We weren't there.
Right. Of course.
In our homes, in our apartments.
Uh-huh.
But we're huge fans of the show, and it's so good. And you're so good on it.
Thank you. It's the role of a lifetime. I'm sincere. And this weird, it's so embraced, certainly by the industry and artists, but then also by the country of India and by 20-year-old niece and her 20-year-old friends who don't have any connection. They're not Jewish. They don't know anything about this world. Mm-hmm. What is it? It is one of those weird demographic crossing things, and I've come to respond to compliments thusly. Yeah, there's no way to fuck it this one up.
It's so
That's the only thing I've found to say.
Everyone can relate to it, because I know as a female comedian, like there's such a deep level of some of the speeches that Rachel gives and about being a woman in comedy is like, it's still,
and the
period
wardrobe
piece, but it's still,
just how the shots, everything is so beautiful and interesting. It's interesting because I binged it over the holiday. I hadn't seen it yet, and I binged it. And my brother, who's in college, was like, "What are you?" He has a really deep voice. He was like, "What are you watching?" And I was like, "Oh, it's the show about a stand-up. She wants to be a stand-up comedian." He was like, "Oh, okay." And he sat down. And he clearly was like not interested. And then after the episode finished, he was like, "You are we going to watch the next one?" Like, he was hooked. Like, it was so interesting. But it was just like my whole family by the end. My mom loved the costumes. My brother thought it was funny. Like, there really is something.
It's weird.
And it's just beautiful.
And it's gorgeous.
Well, I will say Gilmore Girls is a show I used to watch as an 18-year-old woman with my mom and dad, and they both liked it. So her writing is just somehow you can Gilmore Girls, I think, is catered to a specific, maybe a more specific audience than than
but
Maisel,
it relates to family.
Yeah,
also.
but I was surprised at like both of them enjoyed it, and you can find a show that all three of us enjoy was unique, and I think it's the same with this show.
Yeah,
I'm interested
smart writing
too as an actor on that show because Amy Sherman Palladino has such a cadence to her writing.
It's impossible.
How is it as an actor? Do you have to be word perfect?
You have to be word perfect. There's 2 script supervisors. Every show or movie has a script supervisor. They come by and say, can you please lift up the glass when you say this line so it can match? Because once you get into editing, this is for the listeners, you guys know this. Once you get into editing, and Amy was kind of talking about it last night, they need to, as she kept saying last night, I need to get to your face. So if you don't create a path of consistency in your performance throughout the scene, when I need to get to your face, you may not be matching the same looks and things that you had in the wider shot. So, but then there's this second script supervisor who just comes by and tells you, you said we need and these things. And she's a lovely person.
They always are.
But you nailed it. She has pretty much gotten under everyone's skin just because that's the nature of her job.
Right.
Because we're vulnerable children in the pretend sandbox, and this person's scolding us. And that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
How much time, I always wonder, how much time do you have to memorize? Like, is it a show where you get the sides the morning of, or do you get like a week?
It's not morning of, and it's not a full week. Rachel has the burden.
Holy smokes.
These scripts come in 80 pages and for an hour. And she's talking in 70 of those 80 pages.
Right.
And so she's basically memorizing like she works on a soap opera in terms of, and also Amy and Dan love to shoot in these 1-page or 8-page oneers.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I come from stand-up comedy. I did not do theater. I don't know what it means to memorize 8 pages of dialogue to be said in one thing, because we all know the master is a joke, so I don't kill myself. And during the master, the actors can, if they fuck up a line, they'll just keep going. They'll stop and pick up, knowing there's going to be coverage. But when it's a oneer and there's 11 moving parts and you're just one of them, and it's choreographed within an inch of its life, you just don't want to be the reason we're doing it again.
Right.
That's what's going on in my head.
And the speed, like the speed at which, like her shows that people talk, like when I was home talking to my family, nobody, like I was trying to explain to them, I was like, I can't imagine being an actor on this show because I was like, there are a million moving parts, and a lot of the shots they're moving through sets and they're walking and you're talking and you're picking things up, and you also have to speak at this exact cadence all the time. And I was like, I can't imagine filming this.
I know when we do oneers on our show, it'll literally be a half a page and us walking, and like it's such stress that we're both like, I don't know if I can do it.
And it usually ends with us being like, that was trash, but it will work. Like,
There is us going, do we have time to just get one close up so that there's something to cut to?
Yeah.
Because oneer means you can't like cut away from anything. So that it's like, that's the performance for
There's
that.
no coverage.
There's
and even for timing purposes, when
Yes,
you
that's
spend
what
any
I
time
get.
in editing, oneer's a great idea until you get into editing and go, I can't paste this up.
No, and it's amazing to me the amount of times, because we've tried to do it a bunch on our show, or we have done it, and almost every time, except maybe these last 10, it always feels too slow. And I'm like, on set, I thought it was the right timing.
That's right.
But you always end up editing scenes together where you take out every space and air and breath.
Sure.
So then as an actor, you need to take out all of that.
Well, that's... Yeah, it is a strange thing for someone with no theater background in terms of memorizing in a whole new way. Also, as a character actor, as I've said on the show, you know, I've done a lot of movies. I don't know the exact number, 91, but I will say that 6 of them are quite good. But I would say to the star of the movie in an 8-page scene, right, what do you think we should do? And then Tom Cruise talks for 8 pages, and then I say, all right, let's go. I mean, that's my version of memorizing 8 pages.
Right. Yeah.
It's never talking in these big paragraphs, and my character is a blowhard. He doesn't listen. So when I'm in the scene, I'm going to do most of the talking, and it's so bizarre. But what happens is it's become the single most challenging and the single most rewarding ever, and intimidating. But I will give it the amount of time. I will spend, I don't know about you two, but I also became a little bit just going to say lazy, in the sense that because I had a natural brain working function that I could memorize dialogue fairly easily, it stays in there. Even as I got older, when I'm forgetting where pieces of paper are, dialogue for some reason stays in there. And I got a little lazy over the years. And I would joke to my co-stars, I'm not looking at the scenes anymore until I get into the makeup chair. And they thought, what is the matter with you? And I said, well, I need to feel alive, and I need to feel nervous, and I need to feel on edge so that I'm more present in the scene, because I've just gotten to the point where I get tired of everything really quickly, and it just feels flat because I'm not a trained actor. After all these years, it's just been learning while you're earning. I've never, right? So this show has frightened and tightened my sphincter in a way that I didn't know was even possible anymore.
That's
so great,
good.
though.
It
That's
is.
such a great opportunity. Yeah,
So when people say they like it or they like what I'm doing, all I'm remembering is, well, I had to work for the first time in 25 years. So maybe I can accept these compliments. Whereas before I would say, yeah, thanks. It's really fun.
How did you have an idea were you offered the show?
Yeah.
Okay, so when you were offered the show, were you like, did you have any idea when you, like, you must have at first been like, oh, this is special? Or was it not till like you started filming that you were like, oh, this is special?
Yeah. So, we've all been in that situation where people ask, did you know? And the answer is always, we had no idea. So I get a call originally from my agent saying, you're on a short list. The woman who created and ran Gilmore Girls with her husband, who's a great writer and director, they've got a new show, and it's for Amazon. And everyone's very excited about it. And they're going to, the way Amazon does their pilots, they'll shoot the pilot and put it up on the site, and people look at it for 6 months or whatever, and then the network decides what they're going to do with it. So you're on a short list to play the girl's father. But it kind of feels like from the inside that if Tony Shalhoub says yes, the short list goes away. And so then I heard from my agent, Tony said yes, which he did not think was going to happen because, Tony starred in his own show and he's got all these awards for being the lead of a show. And he's certainly not the lead of this show. This is Rachel Brosnahan's character is the central character. We follow her life. So that was kind of surprising. I went, well, good for him. Good and good for them because I love him and, fantastic. They shoot the pilot. People go bananas when it's put up on the site. My agent calls back and says, you need to watch the pilot of that. Remember that show, Tony Shalhoub? You need to watch the pilot. Why? I mean, yeah, sure. But why are you sort of insisting? Well, the creators of the show, Amy and Dan, want you to play. They realize they didn't have in-laws in the pilot. Oh. And they need to create in-laws. And they want you to be the father of the in-laws. So they want to, they want you to do this. They want to get on a call. But before they get on a call with you, they would appreciate it if you'd watch the pilot so you can speak to what the show is. Mm-hmm. So that's what happened. I watched the show, and then you just know. You watch that first episode and you go, oh, so this is instantly one of the top 100 shows in history.
Yeah.
You just watch that pilot and you go, all right, well, these people know what they're doing.
Yes.
Right.
They're brilliant writers. They're brilliant directors.
Yeah.
They've hired exceptional actors.
Right.
The pace of this, and as my friend Corey Levin put it, well, it's like Mad Men, but this time about Jews. And I was obsessed with Mad Men. So there was this sense of, as I've come to coin a term, authentic heightened reality. Right? So it seems true to the period, but it's a magical Wizard of Oz kind of world they've created in the sense of the colors and the dresses and the wardrobe and the thing and the cars and the music is unbelievable. Cinematography. So the whole thing is just, you just know.
Bananas.
So what we didn't know is that anyone outside of the Upper West Side Jewish community would give a shit about this show.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Because it didn't, am I right? I can't remember. I'm a huge Amy Sherman Palladino freak. So I had seen her speak and heard her talk about writing a pilot. And then so I was on, anyway, it it was like the pilot was put on Amazon, right?
Yes.
But it wasn't any press around it, right? It was just
No.
like I remember having to look it up to find it.
They just throw it
like
up.
they didn't do any publicity.
They don't
And then it was like
promote.
it didn't seem like it was that much longer that the series, but I don't remember a ton of press about the series, but then it just blew up. But I don't remember seeing like
Yeah, they were pretty.
tons of marketing for
they-
it before it was.
Yeah, they.
But I don't know if my memory's right.
No, you're right. They promoted it just when it dropped.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was like almost diabolically designed to be a surprise for the holidays.
Because
And it dropped right after Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
first season.
Yeah.
It was like you're home, you're with your
Yeah.
families, you're bored out of your minds.
What are you gonna do?
How about this?
Yeah.
And then it just popped up everywhere. And then it just caught this wave of bored people who watched it and wouldn't shut up about it.
Yeah.
It became the show that people wouldn't shut up
Because I
about.
kept hearing about it. I mean, I didn't watch it when it first came out, but there was like a year, I still feel like this, where everybody's like, I hear about all these shows all the time, and
It's too
I've
much.
never heard of them. It's like, have you seen Mr. Bleeker's? Whatever. And I'm like, no, I've never heard of it. They're like, it's amazing. So I kept hearing Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and so I finally watched it, and I was like, oh, this is fantastic.
Right, but you're not wrong about the glut.
Too much.
And
Yeah,
even a
there's
glut
so
of
much.
quality. There's another show on
Yes.
Amazon that I've spoken about on the show too much, but I had Kurtwood Smith on to talk about it. It's called Patriot.
I've heard
yeah.
about it. I've not
Holy
seen it.
Good God. It's like the Coen brothers and Soderbergh got together and did a show at the center of which is espionage, but it's about a really depressed assassin. And it's hilarious and compelling and bizarre. And no one's talking about it.
Isn't that crazy?
It's on my recommended every day, and
It's
every day I
insane.
don't.
So the fact that show
So
of
I've
that
seen that.
quality, right, could
for
exist and no one's talking about it,
Yeah.
just tells you and speaks to.
But it's such a testament to your show that it was all word of mouth. Like that's
Yeah.
so hard nowadays because
It's
even
impossible.
great shows
It's
don't get
impossible.
attention.
Because you can keep plugging Patriot,
It's such
but
a-
until I hear Patriot from 4 or 5 other people, I'm not watching
Maybe
Patriot.
teachers is what we should be.
Oh my goodness, teacher!
We've lasted 19 minutes. And you both at one point said, well, our show, but I didn't mention
We're
the
not
show.
here to talk about
and that's
that.
my bad.
You're right. I always go, well, our show. No need to say
We
the
don't
name
need
or
to
where you
talk
can
about
watch
it.
it.
We don't need to.
First of all, what is as equally impossible, I dare say, as catching the zeitgeist through word of mouth as Maisel has. What's equally impossible is to be yet another improv sketch group that comes out of Chicago who then gets to create their own show and execute it to their liking
Right.
without being watered down or whatever.
Yeah.
Being given creative freedom to exist through several seasons now. I mean, honestly, that's kind of the lottery winning combination of events as well, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
No,
like the
it's-
perfect storm. Like lightning struck, and thank God we all got hit because it was crazy. We are from Chicago, not originally, but we're all from the Midwest. And we look it too. But we
My pants are wet right now.
Sure.
yeah, Katie came in with a McDonald's cup.
It's raining. My pants are wet, and I brought in McDonald's. I'm sorry, I'm trash.
Straight white trash. But yeah, we were all in Chicago and we're all named Katie. There's 6 of us total. And we were all performing improv. And
You know,
We're,
you
in,
like
we're
to,
in an improv group called the Katy Dids. Just
Yeah.
to clarify
Yeah.
why we're all named.
you've been asked a million times, so now you just sort of brush past it. But for the 9% who doesn't know how it's even possible for 6 women all
their
named
late
Katie
20s and
to
30s.
get together and become
Yeah,
do
yeah.
you put out a flyer saying if
No.
you're named Katie, come by because we're looking to group?
Close.
It was yeah, basically. It was Caitlin Barlow is one
Okay.
of the members. And she just, in Chicago, in the improv scene, you just form a million groups. Like, I think I legitimately might have been on 30 teams over my 8 years. there.
28 is what the research says.
Yeah, like you just do improv all the time to do it.
Yeah.
And so Caitlin formed a team that put us together as the Katy Dids because she thought it was this crazy idea. There were so many women named Katie
Yeah.
in the improv scene, which I'm not sure really was that crazy. We were all
Were you all born
in the
within
80s?
5
so-
years of each other?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So like Caitlin and
It was just a popular name.
Jason and
Yes.
Courtney and forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was just supposed to be like a one-off show. And we did it and it was so fun. We were like, let's do it again next month. And it was very organic of like, this wasn't the group that I formed teams that you're like, we're going to be serious and be a group and really pursue it. This wasn't that.
It was a bit of a goof
just
that
formed for
became
fun.
too fun.
And we loved it. And it became our favorite group. Started doing shows regularly, got a run at I.O. And then it was, again, because it was so fun, we started doing, like, what else do you want to do? Let's do videos together. And videos were so fun that it's like, let's do a sketch show. And then web series came up of, let's do a web series just for fun. And it wasn't, we did hit it just the right time. People hate hearing this, but it was like, people always ask, like, what's the secret? And it was like, it is talent and hard work, but it's also just luck in that, like, when we filmed our web series, like I had to look up online other web series. It wasn't being talked about, so it was right before. So when we filmed it and we released it, we were able to get a lot of attention on the show.
When you first formed, though, what's everyone doing? Does everyone have day jobs?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, baby. Yes.
I worked for a durable medical supply company.
You certainly did.
Doing insurance billing.
Yeah.
And G-chatting all day.
Nice.
And I worked, I don't want to brag, but
I think you do.
I do want to just, I worked at a steakhouse in Chicago, Fleming's. It's a chain. A lot of people are
Fleming's,
familiar.
there's one out here.
It's a nice Fleming. It was a very nice Fleming's, but
it was a very nice Fleming's.
it was a nicer
I'm
of
going to just go
of
out on a
the
limb
Flemings.
and say most of the Flemings are pretty nice.
Very nice.
Yeah.
It was the Flemings.
It was the nicest Fleming's. I started as the hostess. I did get promoted to waitress.
I'll say.
Then I got demoted to cocktailing.
No.
And so I worked there for a long time. But
How did the demotion conversation go?
the demotion was, I knew I was doing a bad job. I got the ounces of steaks wrong all the time. Like people would be like, how many ounces is this? And I'd be like, it's 28. And just had no concept
By
of
the way,
size.
28 ounces.
By the way, how about listing that on the menu? Go ahead and do the work for me.
Thank you.
Put the ounce number next to it.
Put it down there. Why do I need to know?
Patron can choose on their own and not count on the waitress to know the numbers.
So bad.
Did you get weeded? Were you weeded most of the time?
I was always in the weeds. I was always running back to the kitchen being like, guys, please, I forgot modifications. Like I had always forgot to put it in. And I was so bad that because people would write Yelp reviews.
Oh, no.
And if you got a bad Yelp review, you got fired immediately.
You sure did.
So I told everybody my name was Maggie when I was their waiter because I was like, I'm not going down. I needed that job so badly. So I'd be like, I'm Maggie. I'm your server tonight, and I'll see you later.
The self-awareness.
Oh, I knew.
The
I was
the
horrible.
ability to look into your own future and know where things are going.
I knew.
The manager of Fleming's was like, who the hell is Maggie?
Yeah.
She's getting
Why am
so
I
many bad
paying
reviews.
Katie, when there's a Maggie on the floor who keeps fucking up.
Yeah. That was horrible.
I forgot, and I don't want to forget. These are travel mugs.
Oh my
thank
goodness.
It's a podcast with a parting
you can
gift.
put the rest of what's in your McDonald's cup
in this travel mug.
You may want to wash it out first, but yes, it's a little. It's 10% more classy than a
nice.
McDonald's
Wow,
cup.
this is nice.
Yeah.
We also, speaking
I do
of fun
need
jobs, this is leather.
Yeah, when we
It's
first
pleather. Let's not
excuse
get too
me.
excited.
Well, I could have taken it.
when we first moved out here,
Yeah.
because we moved out like we shot the web series and released it, but it took like 9 months before it actually even had the first nugget of selling it. And in that time, O'Brien and I moved to LA just to see what we could do.
Talking about Conan, of course.
Yeah. I was way later. I just moved.
The two of you moved to LA.
Yeah.
And so our first
Now, how did
I
the
don't-
other four Katies take that information?
They were fun. We wanted to pursue this, and they wanted to stay and try the Second City path.
And we knew
So it
we were
wasn't-
not going down that road.
We knew that they didn't love
You
us.
two were at the forefront of the videos and the web
no, it
series.
Yeah, we had kind of like at the beginning it was very much a group thing, but we moved because in Chicago it's like Second City is like the end all be all,
Sure.
and that's what
Yeah.
everybody's working towards.
Right.
And we had auditioned and
Several times.
we're told to just hey,
Stop.
the road's done. So we were like, well,
Go back to being weeded.
and I think it makes sense. We always say when you can't make it in a market like Chicago, the next logical step.
Go to Los Angeles.
Go to a bigger market.
Go to a bigger market
Yeah.
with more talented people.
Or just the most difficult one in the world.
Yes.
yeah. So we had moved.
Our first job here was we literally not sold, we demoed fiber bars at different Whole Foods.
Keep talking.
And so
you want to
it's-
know about being regular or what could help. We
Bowels.
are very familiar.
we would just go to Whole Foods, put on the apron, and old people would come up to us and ask about how fast a fiber bar worked. And I could tell them very fast because I ate a lot.
Yeah.
So it was a science. When you were able to say very fast,
Very fast.
you knew what you were talking about.
There was a method.
2 to 3 hours after a bar, you're fine. You're
But you
rolling.
came here with a web series
Yes.
that was,
It was-
fully produced.
It was fully produced and it was released.
Right.
And the goal was we'll see what happens. We did the web series, like we discussed selling it, and that was definitely the plan. But to be honest, I just don't think any of us actually thought it would happen. So we moved here with like, sure, I'd love if that would sell.
By
That's
the way,
the goal.
I co-wrote and directed and acted in a web series, my own damn self, kind of at a similar cusp, having already done a alleged body of work.
Yeah.
And although we found a home for it, it's some sort of startup internet content
Oh, cool.
portal. All efforts to sell it elsewhere were met with, I don't think so. So I
Yeah.
really want to emphasize how nearly impossible, whether your timing was good or not,
Yeah.
it was.
We
Right.
were very lucky.
It was crazy.
Well,
It
you
was-
did something that people liked.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think there was something really special about teachers or the Katydids in that there was 6 of us. We all have completely different comedic sensibilities. So when you watch the web series or when you watch the show, I think there's a little bit of something for everyone. Meaning
Yeah.
if you like the physical comedy, if you like the smart humor, if you like the fart joke,
Sure.
each of us are contributing something.
That's right.
So I do think, and teaching the area we chose is just,
Right.
very relatable. Yeah.
Everybody knows that world.
And
It's like
so-
an easy world to jump into, and
Yeah.
you don't need to figure it out. Like it's like, oh, elementary school. I went to elementary school.
Yeah.
So everybody can kind of relate to it. So
Yeah.
it was. We really lucked out in that it just was a world that people liked, and
How many places did you pitch it to or have people?
This is when people really hate us.
Kind of the crazy part is, so when we moved out, we had released the web series, and we were selling fiber bars at Whole Foods, and we had released it online, and we were packaging it at WME to try and like go and pitch. And
we weren't represented by WME. Keep in mind, they just approached us
This was like a soft.
to sell it. But you know what I mean? It wasn't even like we were repped by them.
They approach you to sell it?
They kind of had seen it, and they were like, "Hey, what do you think? Like, what do you think
We'll
about
package
packaging
it."
this to sell it?"
Some young upstart?
A young up and coming agent who was amazing, Alec Botnick. He now works at CBS. But we so we were like getting ready, and we were kind of talking about it, and then TV Land had called. They were looking to rebrand from more reruns to a comedy network, and they were doing original programming, and they called WME and said, "Hey, we're kind of looking for like a Workaholics or a Broad City. Like, do you have anything like this?" And Alec was like, "I do. I have this thing called Teachers," and he showed it to them. And then we got this phone call where Alec was like, "Hey, so TV Land's offered to just buy it."
Like we didn't pitch,
we
right?
never
Executive produced
pitched.
an act. I was literally at Whole Foods when I got that. I packed up my car.
Sure.
I left. I drove. O'Brien and I met at Timmy Nolan's in Toluca Lake. And we're like, this is the rest of our life. And then like 9 months later, the deal closed.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But it was like you just got a call of like, TV Land wants to buy this.
Well, this is maybe the best example of something that I've said too many times on the show. You don't need a lot of fans. You need the right fan.
Yeah, you just need one, Brad
Yes.
Gardner. Like he was the
Well,
exec
initially-
at TV Land.
Blotnick?
Blotnock. Over
Alec
at
Botnick.
WME.
Without him.
Without him,
Yes.
it never
Honestly
would have
and
gotten
truly.
And
Brad's
truly,
hands.
I'm very indebted to Alec
Yeah.
forever, and Brad, our network exec at TV Land, because this was very interesting. And at the time, so when TV Land offered to buy it, it was not where we were looking to sell it. We were looking at FX and IFC and Comedy Central and like these places that we thought like
We feel like HBO.
we feel like a Showtime hit. So we had this very like specific idea of where we belonged, and we were like, we just never thought of TV Land. And
Well, as you said, they had decided to rebrand, but they
Yes.
hadn't succeeded that yet.
no,
No.
they hadn't
So
done that.
it made sense that you were thinking, we're going to start at the place that doesn't have.
Comedy? Like
Yeah.
what? It's so, but at the time, I remember Alex saying very bluntly, he was like, here's the deal. He was like, you can go try and sell it to Comedy Central or IFC or FX or TBS. And he was like, and I'll tell you exactly what's going to happen. You'll make the pilot. They won't pick it up because they have 12 other pilots with these huge stars. And he's like, and that will be it. But he was like, if you make it at TV Land, he was like, you will get on the air.
Right.
And that's what you want.
Yeah, he was like, I promise you. He was like, you'll get a season 1 because they'll want to test you out.
And again, that one fan
One fan.
specifically was able to guide you as newcomers to how
Yeah.
show business works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
away from maybe what you were thinking, which would have been natural in anyone's situation, which
Right.
is, well, that was easy. Let's see what everyone else thinks. But
Yes.
you were on Shark Tank.
Yes.
And they said, you've got to bid.
When Cuban comes after you,
He wants to know in 23 seconds.
yeah. And it's
Yeah.
like, you got to say yes. But it's great because I always think like, now we've done 50 episodes, and I just think we've
crazy.
never,
No.
ever in a million years had we not chosen that network. And TV Land and Brad Gardner let us do whatever we wanted.
That is definitely the winning combination.
Right. I remember our first round of notes so clearly of like, we knew our brand of comedy, but we didn't know necessarily how to write a TV show. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think we knew what we wanted to do, what we think is funny. But I remember our first round of notes, so we kind of just wrote what we thought a sitcom should be. And literally Brad just called and was like, this is fine. We can do this. But I think you can make it more you. I think you can do more. I think you can do better. And not in a, like, I don't like it. He was like, if you want to do this, we're down. But I don't think this is as you as it can be, which is like the most amazing note you
is.
never get. Of like,
It
he
is.
was like, I think you can push it farther. I think you're trying to write what other people write. Just write what you want to write. Like, I just remember him being like, you can be more you, which is a weird note to get. But oddly, it was completely accurate of like, yeah, we're
Also, a
trying to.
note that no one gets.
Yes.
No.
They really don't.
So rare.
Yeah.
As I now have friends who have sold other shows, like, and no one else has had our, I understand how lucky and grateful we are because no one has had our experience of like, yeah, we've gotten to do 50 episodes. It is all us.
Mm-hmm.
It is our voice. We get to write kind of whatever we want. I mean, within our budget. But, most people get notes that dilutes it or
Noted to
changes
death.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're very lucky.
Did it ever become careful what you wish with that kind of freedom?
Yeah,
Yes.
it does. It's a huge challenge. Every time we thought we knew what we were doing, a new challenge would present itself, and it's like, damn it, we don't know what we're doing. In that, like, you get through season 1, and you're like, okay, I kind of get the formula now.
Right.
But then season 1 was 10 episodes, and season 2 they gave us 20, which is great. But that's a whole different beast because they gave us 20 episodes and only a little bit more time to do it.
Oh, really?
So it was like trying to do it in twice the time.
Wow.
And so that was then the challenge of like, oh, I think I could have done another 10, not easily, but, not too hard. And then it was this huge challenge of I don't know how to do it in this amount of time. And then after we did 30 episodes, we were like, great, season 3 will be easy because now I know. And suddenly you realize you've done 30 episodes, you've told all the stories you can tell, and you have to completely broaden your world, bring in new characters, change the dynamics.
You're right.
And it's like, oh, that's a whole new challenge just because we've never done it before.
Yeah.
So yeah, and with being able to do anything, it can be like a little, sometimes it's like easier to write in restrictions,
Yes. Absolutely.
because then you have to do it versus like, we're going to broaden the world in any way. And it's like,
yeah. Do more you. Do whatever you want.
yeah.
Easy.
Do it faster with less time and money. And good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did they give you a seasoned showrunner when you first started?
We got paired up with 2 amazing guys, Ian Roberts and Jay Martell, who had come from Key and Peele. So they had this sketch background, and they were the best showrunners we could have asked for because their ideal way of running things was like, hey, this is yours. We're here to help, and we'll help you facilitate it. But like, they let us be so hands-on.
Yeah.
We got really involved. They were very cool being one with us. And because there's 6 of us, and then with Ian and Jay, there were 8, we voted on everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it was they
democratic.
typically, they let us, everybody have an equal say because it was a group.
They were used to working with Jordan and Keegan from Key and Peele. So I think they were kind of like, we're here to guide and help in any way, but this is your baby, which I don't know, again, if a lot of other people would have done that.
No, it's the struggle
Yeah.
to comply with a showrunner that the network has to approve.
Right.
And most of those showrunners have their own ideas and ego about what needs to be done, which is only natural. They've earned a position. You've stepped into one.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's amazing and kind of a miracle you didn't get one of those.
No, and it's, again, not to toot Brad's horn all the time, but it was Brad Gardner who was like, obviously we were obsessed with Key and Peele, so excited, but he's the one who first brought their name up and was like, I think they're the best fit. You can meet with other people, but I think this is who,
Yeah.
like he was just great. He's really guided us and taken care of us this whole time of like, I just really trust him. Now, whenever he came to us with things that we did disagree on, he really earned our trust season 1 that it's like, okay, if Brad disagrees and he's usually totally on the same page as us and,
Right.
then you really listen.
Right.
which is great to have someone that you can trust 100%.
Yeah, but you've also, everyone's got their own lives and their own families in terms of the people who are participating. Among the
Katydids?
Yeah. The two of you come out front to be the driving force.
Yeah,
Because you said everyone voted, but I feel like you two...
Well, we do. We have different roles in the group. We have different areas that people take charge of. I usually ran the room. So and
I think we kind of found ourselves gravitating towards really wanting to be involved in every hat. And I think some Katys were more interested in, just acting or just writing. And I think as the process went on, we really found ourselves being like, oh, we love all of this and want to be involved in all of this. And so I think by the end of it, we kind of were like, okay. This is like what we like and what we want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was an interesting process of figuring out what you want to do. Like during it taught me that my dream job would probably be to be a showrunner. I still want to act, but I wouldn't have known that, but that is, as a theater kid who loves putting up production and being involved with all of it, I would find that I thought acting would be my favorite part. I assumed, and I still love acting, but no, it was not my favorite part by any means. And I was really surprised by that.
Were you also surprised with how little you would use your knowledge of how quickly a fiber bar works?
Well, we carried
them.
that through.
So it wasn't surprising.
No, I mean, that
surprising.
was when we first landed that job, which we were so lucky to land. We really were like, we're going to make this a part of our lives.
I no longer am paid to promote fiber bars, but I just
We
do it
still
for
promote
fun.
'em.
I just do
Yeah.
it for fun.
All right.
And we know every layout of every Whole Foods in the greater Los
I
Angeles
know where
area.
the bathroom is at every Whole Foods, I'll tell you that much.
I know where the lotions are because I just would get so bored. I'd go over and put lotion on my body and roam around.
I would put on eyeshadow. I always had a fun color.
Yeah.
Eyeshadow. Never think of eyeshadow at Whole
Yeah.
Foods.
Yeah.
Wonder why that didn't cross my...
Well, it's a more
Radar.
popular item there, but
Is there
Yeah, there is.
a whole section devoted to eyeshadow?
there's makeup. Yeah.
There's makeup. There's not a whole section. There's one option.
It's kind of over by the Oats. But
Okay.
that's the Burbank location.
Now it makes sense. And so now there's 50 episodes.
Yeah.
At the end of this 10,
Right.
we're about to air 10 that will be, the end of it will be 50.
When does that drop?
Tomorrow.
Tuesday, January 15th, 10, 9 Central
Yeah.
on TV Land.
And so actually, interesting. So yes, it drops the date and time Katie just said.
Tuesday, January 15th, 10, 9 Central.
And then they release one
a week.
One a week,
week.
like so-called normal television?
Yeah, we're not on the whole Amazon boat. We're not a part of that crew.
Well, the
Sorry,
binging
man.
thing...
we get it.
The binging thing is...
It's better and it's
Well, that's
wiser.
not-
You can
better.
binge at the end of March.
I can make an argument for... That's right. I can make an argument. That's the other question is the archive library of every episode available at TV Land?
Not at TV Land, but you can find it on Amazon or iTunes.
Well, on TVland.com you can.
Interesting how Amazon comes back into the picture.
They're everywhere. They're everywhere. But the episode that our first episode that kicks off this 10, for a really long time, we had wanted to do an episode about gun control, and we could not figure out how to do it. And it was a very sensitive subject, rightfully so. And so every writer's room, every season that would come around, would be like, is there any way we can do something about gun control in schools? Like, it was so prevalent. And this season, we finally cracked it. And the first episode is, so instead of guns in schools, it's a bear. And a bear moves in across the street from the school, the elementary school. And the teachers are concerned. And they're like, hey, they go and meet with the neighbor. And they're like, we don't think a bear should be living across the street from school. It's kind of dangerous. And the
owner of the bear is played by,
Larry Joe Campbell.
I'll say.
And he's great. And he kind of explains to us, and he's like, here's the deal. I have the right to have this bear. I don't need a fence. Our house was broken into. The bear makes my wife feel safer. So anyways, the episode's really cool and maps it with gun control. But we filmed, so we write this.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, and you don't think when you're writing that you're going to film it. You just don't make that connection.
Or that you have to hire a bear.
But you never do.
We hired this bear
Sure.
named Tag.
And Tag's
900-pound
credits
Kodiak.
included.
Oh, way more than
He's
ours.
one of two bears in town, so he's done a lot.
Did I work with him on Dr. Dolittle too?
You probably did.
Okay.
You probably did.
Yeah.
Familiar.
He lives
He's-
just outside of LA.
And he's busy. We had to work around his schedule. Like
certainly did.
we had one shooting schedule and it had to change because he booked a commercial.
Yeah.
Well,
So which none of us have booked since starting the show.
he's one of two big bears in town.
But he was, it was crazy. That happened a lot on on the show though, where you'd write something that you're just in the writer's room and you're focused on what's funny, and then you get to set and you're like, oh baby, whether it's like you have to take your pants off and run down the hallway, or you have to film with a bear that
It's trained.
is very close,
quote,
trained,
unquote.
and has the little wires that's supposed to not go outside the electric. They're not electrical wires, but it's like an electric fence for a dog.
Sure.
He has that.
And how was he with his boundaries?
Tag, I don't know that he had.
He was nice.
Yeah, he was great. He was great, but he was kind of like my dog Lucy, of like, he got the rules, but was a little saucy, I would say. A little saucy about
You
it.
dated briefly.
Yeah, he broke my heart.
Thank goodness it was just your heart.
It was not mutual.
Because he's 900 pounds.
He's 900 pounds. But it was buck wild to me because, first of all, this bear shows up. They just open the back of a truck, like a
Big
moving truck.
Big
yeah.
truck.
And he rolls out, and
What's up, y'all?
everybody is like, oh my God, he's like my dog. He's
I kept
so
saying that. She was
cute."
terrified, and I the whole time kept saying, it's just like Lucy, but
And
bigger.
I am like shaking, and I'm
boy.
like,
She was
this
shaking.
is a bear.
900 pounder.
900 pounds, and we don't know. And everybody was like, "Oh my God, it's he's fine."
Lambert
Size
and
of a Prius.
I were not scared at all, and O'Brien and Barlow were shaking repeatedly during the scenes, and they kept being like, "Why aren't you scared?" And I kept being like, "Here's the thing: if I'm going to go out by getting eaten by a bear, I actually feel like that's a good way to go."
Right.
In all the ways.
It'll be a good story. It'll be good press for the show. I'm just that fool who
It'll
thinks
be good press for the show.
Yeah.
You do know how business works.
So we're
our show
rotten
will
to the
blow
core.
up. Our show will blow up if I have to lose a
The
limb.
viral video alone.
A woman from the Midwest getting mauled in Woodland
in
Hills.
9-inch
Yeah.
heels and drag queen makeup,
Yeah.
getting eaten by a bear.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know why I wasn't scared. I think it's because I'm stupid, but
Right. But
O'Brien was
But
terrified.
ultimately, you got to execute your
Vision.
version of
Yeah.
a gun control
and it's
episode.
I don't think you said this. It's off the Betsy DeVos comment of like, remember she said that it's like, well, it's about arming teachers is what we kind of map. And she had said why teachers need to be armed is because, you never know if a grizzly bear breaks into a school. So that's what the episode is.
Yeah.
And we'll see. And hopefully it is the first episode. We've done a lot of, or attempted to do some political social humor, just because if you have this platform, like,
Why not?
I feel an obligation of
Especially
like, no.
if your goal one is to make it funny.
Yeah. You just want to say something too. But this is the one that feels like there are some even dramatic moments in it. Like normally our show is trying to make a point.
With the running down the hall pantsless.
Yes.
And some people get the politics of that, and
some
if
don't.
it goes over other people's heads, that's not our problem.
Sorry
Yeah.
that we're no, but we did like
Don't
a
play down to
breastfeeding
your own.
plot.
No. We're very highbrow.
Women breastfeeding in public plot, and I get like shot in the face with breast milk. Normally it's like that, trying to make
Sure.
a statement. But this is like the first episode there. It is hopefully very funny, but has a little bit more of a dramatic tone. So I think we're really excited for people to see it.
And how excited are you to do the next 10?
Well, this is the end.
We found out.
So
Did you?
Yeah.
And how was that conversation? Were you like, we're kind of ready for this to be done?
It was bittersweet. We had mixed feelings because it was, it's been 5 years that we've been doing it, and it's been 50 episodes, and so there was part of me that was like, oh my gosh, this is so sad. Like, we're never going to do this again. But then another part of me was like, this feels like a chapter that like we felt like we did what we wanted to do with it, and we feel like we're going out on a high note, and it's a lot of work.
It's an extraordinary amount of work, but also the education alone.
Oh my gosh.
I always say season 1 was like, all I said in press after season 1 was it was a master's in television, which is a very simplistic way to put it. But yeah, no, I feel so equipped to handle any situation now. Like we're trying to figure out what the next step is. And it's like, I feel confident getting staffed or trying to sell a show or going into an audition. Now, whether I'll succeed in any of those, who the hell knows?
Right. You could have spent the last 5 years trying to learn those things by getting a job,
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
like everyone else.
Right.
Yeah.
But instead,
It's funny. I do think it's a good time for the show to end. Because it, like, after 50 episodes, there's only so many stories you can tell.
right.
We have like every character this season doing something way outside of themselves. So then you can't keep going.
And the audience out there, when you meet them, what's that like?
Oh, great.
great.
We just did an improv show last night, actually, and there was teachers, fans in the audience. And it's wonderful. They're so sweet. They're so nice. It's usually teachers. They usually say like they can relate to it, which is scary.
Yep.
And they're so kind. Like that's, I think, a huge demographic is teachers. And
Yeah.
it's great to hear that they're like, I love getting home from work and getting to see, they're like, this character is like the teacher in our school we hate. This character is like me. I don't know. It's just lovely
You
to get that
succeeded.
feedback.
That's exactly what you were going for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a cool ride.
Yeah, it has.
And how long do you think it'll be before you need to do all of this again?
I'm a little bit of something for sure is wrong with me, and I don't know what it is. There's a lot of things, but I could do it again, like right now. Like I really crave, like I want to do it again. Like I don't know, I don't do well with nothing to do. And so I'm kind of like.
But also, you've got all this education, more importantly, all this momentum.
Feels weird not to do it
Yes.
again. Like it just
Yes.
feels weird at this point to be like, at least to try to do it again, because it feels kind of like, oh my gosh, this was such an amazing thing. And I really loved every part of it. And
You
so.
just need to pick the perfect milieu again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which
That's
who
all.
knows
So
if
easy.
that comes about.
It's
Yeah.
easy. But it does, I think everyone kind of feels that, because while I do think like through it, we kept, feeling stronger about our abilities, it still was always a learning process.
Sure.
So there was still, like, example being the schedule. The schedule was insane. I do think we agreed to a schedule that was maybe not fair and a little like impossible to have anything outside of the show.
Right.
But there's just things you learn that you're like, oh, I want to do it again. But now knowing all of this, I know what boundaries to put up. I also know what I need to do and what I actually, the amount of times you'd spend so much work on something you don't really need to do. It doesn't pay off. Like, I don't know. There's so much that we learned
Right.
that I'd love to try to do it again better. I don't know. Not again, I love teachers, but you just have a desire to, because even every season it was a new challenge. I just feel like I learned so much and I want to try to do it again, but under, apply what you learned.
Have you started pitching each other ideas?
We've kind of gone back and forth where it's like, what about this? What about this? We both live in Toluca Lake, which
That's
is
right.
The hotbed of LA.
it's a lot of younger up and coming people live there. There's
So
a
you
honey
feel-
baked ham.
So you feel old?
Patty's Diner. I live right behind a
There's
senior
Bob's
center.
big boy. But you can see us about town there if you're driving through. But we meet at Patty's Diner. And so we've been meeting there and we're kind of spitballing stuff back and forth. We're like, what about this? What about this? So yeah, we're kind of starting to get the wheels moving again.
Do you want to tell listeners which days you normally meet there? I mean,
Monday through Friday. I mean, we're never.
I know, Brian's
never
just
not
saying
there.
is
exactly
it
where we
breakfast
are.
or lunch?
Breakfast. We're typically there at like an 11:30 to about a 2:30 or 3.
You know what's really sad? Because Patty's Diner is a diner that I would say the average
Is
person
it
is
P-A-D-D apostrophe?
T-Y.
No, we'll take you someday.
T-A-T-Y.
Okay.
We'll treat you.
All righty.
Patty's Diners, the average, person is maybe over 65.
Sure.
We know all the waitresses, but what's really sad is that there was a time last week where I went to breakfast there with one person. Then someone texted and said, do you want to grab lunch at Patty's? And I said, yes.
Uh-oh.
And then I might have ended up at Patty's
Might have. For dinner.
Found myself.
And I
back there.
thought,
You got your
wow,
3 squares there?
I really need to get a life and
wish
not
they
hang
had
out at
punch
Patty's
cards.
Diner.
or commit a little bit more to something.
Yeah. The level that we're operating on in our lives right now is we go there all the time, and Katie's order right out of the gate is, which I think maybe they have memorized, is an Earl Grey tea with excessive milk.
So just get the milk with a little tea.
Yeah. So
Here's the thing. I
we're two
am
hot
called the
babes.
grandma.
I know you can't see us, but we're smoking hot babes.
I'm called
and-
the grandma of the group, and there's a reason.
Yeah.
It's the excessive amount of milk in your tea.
It's the Jane Patterson novels and the excessive milk in my tea.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Well, you sound like a showrunner. Would you like some water?
I
just realized that there's a bottle
I've been
there.
hoarding it. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I'm only asking because I would
You
like
need some water? Let me help you.
While
I was in the service
through,
industry.
While I go through the questions, which I spent so much time on and have yet to refer to them once.
Who cares?
Exactly. That's my favorite kind of episode where I prepare as a professional
Why?
As you
and then we
should.
just have a conversation.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
It is pretty enjoyable, especially for Sam the engineer. Just to see him not nod off is my favorite thing. It looks like you covered the first 15 questions, so thank you for that.
You're welcome.
We're on it.
We're here to do that for you.
Wait, we're up to 19. You've
Wow.
covered the first 19.
You really prepared.
Did you have the fiber bars in there?
I think they did not have the fiber bars.
That's a little known fact. That's not even.
Well, little known, no more.
That's true.
Much like Patty's with the T.
know.
It's just 2 T's?
No,
just
just
one.
one. It's
I knew there was something screwy about that
Yeah.
spelling. And I thought Patty's with D's because it was an Irish pub.
no,
By the way.
no.
Nope. Opens at 6 a.m.
Let's talk a little bit about your own teachers and mentors that you may have had along the way. I normally ask this question, but in this particular case, it seems especially pertinent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a couple. I don't know if they felt it was mutual, but I felt like for sure had 2 teachers in high school that were very like influential, and I felt like they especially were like, "Oh, you're funny. Like you should do comedy." And
how old are you when this happened?
Terry Fisher, it wasn't until like high school that I was kind of like, "Oh, maybe."
Right.
Yeah.
So when you hear that, is it surprising or reassuring?
I think for me it was surprising because I kind of never thought it about myself. And then I think it was it was surprising. And then like it was odd to be like encouraged to do it.
And you say you hadn't thought of it for yourself.
No.
What were you thinking for yourself at that point?
I viewed myself as a more serious, I feel like I've always been like in my 50s my whole life and feels comfortable to me. And so I was thinking like, oh, I'm going to go to law school. I'm going to be a lawyer.
Really?
I had an affinity for pantsuits. Yes, like I just loved
because
that.
You saw something in fiction, or because there was someone in the family who did
My
that?
parents were lawyers, and
there
all
we
of
go.
my aunts and uncles are lawyers.
All of them.
Almost all of them. There's an engineer too, but
Have you talked to the Guinness Book people about this?
I'm trying to get in every way I can.
I mean, this seems like
it's bizarre. Yeah,
maybe that's the show.
that could be my new show.
Both my parents are lawyers as well.
Yeah.
Or were.
So
I think it's a world that most people don't know about, and they think bad things about lawyers.
that's true.
And you're clearly representing a different side.
We're the good kind.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's a good witch and a bad witch. There are good lawyers and bad lawyers.
Well, I don't want to say that's the name of the show, but
The good witch, the bad lawyer.
yeah. I'd like to see you spin Wicked on its ear.
You've got it in an Amazon, right? You can hook me up.
I technically have a Fire Stick that allows me to watch Amazon
Perfect.
shows. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's just what I always thought I would do. I just never thought I would do comedy. So then, and actually one of my big mentors, I felt this way about her, was Nora Dunn. I did a play with her in Chicago. And we did this Nora Ephron play, which was very cool. I got to work with Nora and Delia Ephron. And
Holy cow.
that was bananas. Yeah, that was bananas.
They did the first staging of this play? in
Yeah, they
Chicago?
came out and flew out, and it was this play called Love, Loss, and What I Wore. And Nora and Delia came out, and it's their play, and they wrote it. And
And you were cast as...
I was one of 5, and I was like the young girl of the cast, and then Nora Dunn was in it too. And
That's bananas.
It was bananas, and it was so weird. And I just remember like sitting at the Ralph Lauren restaurant in Chicago with Nora and Delia Ephron and being like, "This is wild!" Like,
Is it
this
in fact
wild.
called the Ralph Lauren restaurant?
I think maybe it goes by RL, but
Very fancy.
I thought I
fact
knew
check that.
Chicago. I thought I knew Chicago. I'm not familiar with the Ralph Lauren
it's
restaurant.
right. It's
I actually am not either.
it's right across from Water Tower. It's fantastic.
First of all, 17 things claim to be right across from Water Tower.
It might be. Maybe I'm
Is
thinking
it attached to a store? Is it a standalone?
It's the Ralph Lauren store.
There's a coffee counter.
No,
at
there is
store.
a full-blown restaurant.
All right.
It's great. I highly recommend
Brian
it.
does not know the difference between.
Am I thinking about the clothing store? No, there for sure is a restaurant. But yeah, so Nora Dunn was a huge mentor of mine, and she kind of actually was the one that told me, like, you need to move to LA. She was like, you need to move. Do not stay here. Not in a bad way, but she was just like, if you really want to pursue this, like, you should move. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so-
that's pretty astonishing.
She was great. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I had similar in that I never considered this pursuing comedy for a long time. I was a huge fan, and I did theater my whole life, but no one I was cast in I did a million shows as chorus, featured dancer. I never got to speak or sing.
which can be discouraging.
Yes. So I meant no one ever said, you should pursue this. This
Yeah.
is what you should do.
Yeah. You just stand behind others doing
They
it.
kept being like, you hold, I think I did the musical Once Upon a Mattress 3 times and
Sure.
was a mattress lady 2 of the 3 times.
Oh, man.
But the mattress is a huge part
Here's
of
the
that
thing. I
play.
brought the mattress
Well, it is
back and
and it
forth
isn't.
very elegantly.
But
see your
that-
stagehand.
But that really does speak to your stick-to-itiveness and faith in
repeatedly.
yourself.
Well, it wasn't
need
so
to
much that.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it was. It was that I loved it. I loved it. But I did go to college thinking, I was a psychology major, but theater just for fun. It was always like, I'll do something else. I want to be a counselor or a lawyer.
Oh, that wouldn't have worked out. Yikes.
Can't say the profession.
Not a speaking lawyer. Really,
The silent kind.
research and development. You were the R&D lawyer.
Because my mom's a lawyer.
Yeah.
But anyway, but it wasn't until... But the teachers that had an influence in my life were like Jeff Yarnell was my middle school drama teacher. He introduced me to Monty Python and Christopher Guest.
Amazing.
But again, it wasn't like to pursue it. It was just like, oh, this is awesome. I love it. And it was Jeffrey Ullum in college who was like, you're really funny. You should do this, and kind of encouraged me to do an internship at the Goodman Theater in Chicago, which is what like my whole life was like, well, so again, I'll do this internship at the Goodman, but then I'll get my master's or go to law school.
Right.
But it was always like just for fun. And then it wasn't like a year into moving to Chicago, I was like, oh, I love this. So can we make a living at it?
We still don't know. I mean, we really are not. I still think maybe I'll go to law school.
After 50 episodes, there's still a question of can you make a living at this?
Yeah. It was hard. But anyway, so it was very slow. But I had two teachers, both named Jeff. I really like people who have the same name in my life.
Weird.
That kind of pushed me or encouraged me. Jeff Yarnell for sure and Jeffrey Ullum.
Maybe get around the alphabet a little bit.
No. Just J's and K's.
Yeah,
just
you're right
JK.
there.
Yeah, that's her hot pocket.
JK.
JK.
Yeah, maybe you need to work with JK Simmons.
Born for comedy. Yeah, so it was like that. It was I don't know. A lot of the Kadians have that journey of like, I think maybe as a woman in comedy, it's just you don't think of it because while there were like, I loved Molly Shannon growing up and I was a huge Phyllis Diller and Lucille Ball. It just seems like so unattainable, so like that they were the genius exceptions. And now I feel like it's becoming more like mainstream to be like, no.
But also like where we were from. Like I'm from Omaha.
Yeah,
She's from Kansas City. And it's like nobody's an actor or like everybody's a dentist or...
Although now I do want to brag because I feel people shit on Kansas a lot. But my hometown, but this wasn't when I was a kid, has Rob Riggle, Jason Sudeikis.
I've done Big Slick.
Oh, yeah.
7 out of 8 years.
I mean, I've never been invited, but I love. but no, that's they're all
Rudd,
from Paul Rudd
Eric
went to my
Stonestreet,
rival high school.
Dave
Jason
Koechner.
Sudeikis?
Dave
Jason
Koechner.
Sudeikis.
They're all from like a small area in Kansas that I grew up. Now, when I was growing up there, they weren't famous yet, so like
Sure.
kind of hit. Maybe like high school. Like I remember Clueless was maybe high school. I forget, but I didn't know Paul Rudd was.
Now
from
it's a
Kansas.
hotbed.
Now I'm telling you, Kansas baby. That's where you need to learn.
I'm
comedy.
agreeing with you. Yeah.
In Omaha, we have
Steaks.
Warren Buffett
Uh-huh.
and steaks.
Yep.
And those have made a splash too. So
Well, that was the quickest hour in history.
oh, great.
Oh wow, that was
Right?
great.
Great.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to say an hour 3.
Dang.
Dying.
People should go to TV Land, go to Amazon for the archived library of episodes. What night? Is there a time slot?
Yes.
Tuesdays
At-
9 Central,
Okay. And there'll be 10 episodes,
Yes.
starting the 15th.
depending on when you're listening to this. Well, first of all, it definitely happened in the past.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
That-
So
that's
it's airing.
January 15th. So let's just say it's now airing.
It's now airing.
And congratulations to you both.
Thank you.
Thank
I mean,
you.
honestly and truly, it's a
same to
little
you.
ridiculous. Wow. Which brings us to the portion of the show like I feel we've already covered, but it is the first of the last 2 segments, and it's called Ask Kevin. You're allowed to ask me any question. It can be sincere or silly or neither.
Okay, I have one.
Sure.
Oh, do you want to go first? Is yours silly? Mine's
No.
serious.
Mine's serious. It's
jeez.
based, but
You're
but
both
it's
allowed to
semi-based on-
ask serious
No,
questions.
one serious.
But
No.
one, just because it came off of what what we were just talking about, or maybe it was what I was thinking about is
Time slots?
no.
What do you know about them?
What
took
is
a
the
stab.
best time slot? Okay,
took a
so
stab.
having a great career in something like Maisel hit, do you still when it stops, when you're in between shooting or when you're waiting to find out if you'll get a season 3, although you will get a season 3, are you still panicked about the future? Does that ever go away?
That was mine.
Really?
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
That's what I was
Crazy.
thinking because after just having finished Teachers, I just wonder, like, does it ever, do you know what I'm saying? As an actor, or writer or whatever. It's so unstable, and you're agreeing to a lifetime of instability. And with that comes a little sacrifice. Anyway, does it ever go away?
I remember being young and aspiring, and then seeing Jimmy Stewart on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson well into his 70s, saying that he thought after every job finished, he thought, that's it, I'll never work again.
Oh my gosh.
So I bring that up because if you allow such thoughts, they're there waiting for you.
Yes.
10 years or more ago, I sort of discovered if you're not creating, you're waiting.
Yep.
And for those of us who are independent contractors, we wait for the phone to ring. And you two have already proven so very skilled at not waiting and just creating. So I would definitely suggest continue to diversify and create your own destiny and future, because you're kind of limited by your own imagination now.
Yeah.
Right.
And so there's only that to laziness is the only thing you should fear, because, don't wait for the phone to ring.
Yeah.
For sure. And that's also the best way to deal with the uncertainty.
Yeah.
Right.
While you're waiting, be creative and do pretty much whatever you want.
Right.
But it does take that sort of due diligence to avoid the, is this it?
Right.
Because if you know you're creating stuff and diversifying, it's never it.
Right.
Right.
You're constantly spinning 17 different plates.
Right.
So I found that to be the key a long time ago, very fortunately. When something like Maisel comes along, though, there is an instant realization of, oh, I've just won the lottery. I don't know how long it's going to last. It will have a lifespan.
Right.
That will end. Enjoy and be present for every damn second, because even the show is picked up to 2 seasons from pilot, so there's always going to be a second season. While we were starting to shoot season 2, there was a regime change. We got a new leader at Amazon, Jennifer Salke, and she's amazing. So she came into the situation that was a little bit of a shit show in terms of leadership. And the first thing she did while we were shooting episode 3 of season 2, she picked the show up to a 3rd season.
Oh.
Before she'd seen a frame of season 2.
Well,
and it was kind of her way of, I think, stamping
The vote of confidence.
the vote of confidence, but also taking this new job and saying, I'm going to let everyone know I'm not going to get in the way of something that is making us all proud.
Yeah.
Because I don't know that they have ever gotten any notes from Amazon ever about anything. So there's a realization of, oh, well, this is insane. And we're all still, even as we go through the press and the marketing of this season, having dropped not too long ago, having to answer those questions. Not only did you know, but also it looks like you're having fun, but nobody knows. And we, after the Critics' Choice thing last night, at the table, we're all sitting there. And everyone has their own lives. Some people, at least half the cast lives in New York. We're sitting there, and the show starts taping at 5. So now it's 6:02 in the afternoon, and you've got all gussied up, and the whole machine is getting you through the press line and all that shit. And you're sitting there. Oh, there's Julia Roberts. Oh, there's Lady Gaga, and it's all sort of silly and surreal. And then Tony Shalhoub says, at our table of 12. We should maybe get dinner after this, because it's over at 7, right? And just that no one had thought of that before is one thing. No one had made plans, another thing. Everyone was actually available to just go have dinner. And then we just went to Ivy by the Shore, because the thing shoots at the Barker Hangar at the Santa Monica Airport.
Wow.
And we sort of took over the back room and celebrated not the award, but that we really
like each other
and we're present for how bizarre and wonderful this moment is.
Yeah. That's so great.
So I would say live in the present and fill the future with your own creativity as a way to not get bogged down with shit, what's next.
Okay.
That's great.
So I have a little piggyback question off of that. It's kind of not a question, and you kind of answered it, but
perfect.
So I'd like to set myself
this is how
up
O'Brien
for success.
pitches in the room, by the way.
It's a bad idea. Maybe you'll buy it. I don't know. But because you have said, like, I hit the lottery. I love this. This is amazing. So I love to play this game with people in life where it's like you starting out in your career, like very early on. If somebody had said, hey, in X amount of years, this is where you'll be. This is what you'll be doing. This is what you'll be a part of. This huge show with all this critical acclaim, you're going to feel fulfilled by it. Like, what would your youngest self have thought about that?
I have to wait till I'm 60? That's what my young self would have said.
But like, did you ever think you would be a part of a show like this?
No.
Because you were coming from a comedy background.
I mean,
the show's obviously a comedy, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I was a stand-up comedian.
Right.
So, but I also didn't have designs of being the great, very famous stand-up comedian. It was always in my mind a gateway to acting, but I didn't have the discipline to go to acting school. I hated school, so because I had very few teachers who actually gave a shit, and those are the ones that I excelled in.
Yeah.
Those classes. So the idea of going to an acting school didn't sound like anything that would interest me. But then I saw Michael Keaton in Night Shift, which a lot of people of my generation or after look at that performance and think, oh, well, there you go. There's a guy who's sort of stealing this movie that was built around Henry Winkler's character. I'll do that. That I can do. But no, the idea that I would be a dramatic actor
Yeah. Isn't that so interesting?
was
to
never,
think about,
ever on the list of things to do. So all of it has sort of caught me off guard in terms of did I fantasize about sitting next to Johnny Carson on his couch and making him laugh? Sure. Did I
Right.
think it was actually going to happen? There were no vision boards
Okay.
in my youth.
Yeah.
People weren't deciding what was going to happen for them. They were thinking, well, this will never happen, but I'm allowed the fantasy, so I'll pretend it's happening when I'm alone.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, no, there was never... The young me would have said, why do I have to wait till I'm 60?
Interesting.
For sure.
Yeah. That's
But
so
but
cool.
been blown away.
Right.
That's the other thing is if you know, like I'll see people that are similar age at these things. Mark Shaman, who wrote brilliant stuff for Mary Poppins Returns, a brilliant composer, and you know, we just hug each other and say we're still here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're still here.
But also how amazing to look back on your career and realize like, oh, it does make sense why I'm here. Like, you know, like to have such an amazing career that led you to, of course you're playing this role. Like that's really cool.
Well, it is cool, but and also my better half, who's considerably younger, embarrassingly younger, but like you was always 50, and I think that's ultimately what brought us together. You know, we had high hopes for season 2, and I had read scripts, but you know, the scenes you're not in, you don't know what they're going to look like and how they're going to turn out.
Right.
Right.
So we were watching season 2 separately because I was in New York, and then we had a European press tour, and so we ended up watching the first few episodes separately. And so she would text me, and this is not someone who sends compliments. It's her joy in life to so-called bring me back down to earth.
Good for her.
Because I'm always
Yeah.
in the clouds.
Good
Yes,
for her.
good for
You
her.
found a good woman.
Good for her indeed. So for her to text, you're really good in this in season 2
man.
was maybe the best part of the whole thing. Yeah, truly. So
That's so great.
So that,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And then I was saying last night to the group of us, because someone was starting to obsess on a very loud critic of the show, and who's sort of taken a stand almost of saying, I refuse to like the show and here's why.
Right.
Oh, come on.
I mean, it's kind of brilliant how hard this person's working at being heard.
Yeah.
For me to sort of point out to everyone, you know, when you get in a room together at an awards thing, you're just surrounded by weirdly and wildly famous people.
Yeah.
And so for them to break out of their comfort zone, approach you at your table and say, you guys need to know I'm obsessed with the show. I said, isn't that
That's insane.
the greatest
Yes.
part of
Yeah.
any of this?
Yes.
Yeah.
When
People you respect and admire come up and are like, you are fantastic.
and have to, they are compelled.
yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, that's the
Okay.
deal.
That's a good answer.
That's the deal.
I also will say that whenever the Katy Dids will get like a bad review on teachers or someone saying a bad thing, it's always like, my response a lot of times is just like, isn't it so cool that someone has watched our stuff to even have that opinion?
Yes.
That cares
Yeah.
that much?
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? Is like, I just still think it's cool
Yes.
that someone can, I don't know, that
Yeah.
it's like out there that someone can have that opinion and put it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
They spent time writing an article about. I don't know. That's in itself very cool.
I look at the, and I'm not I guess I'm a silver lining guy, but this journalist who's making such a big stink.
I know who you're talking
It
about.
starts to feel like it's a little bit about them
Yeah.
Yeah.
or a lot about them.
Yeah.
And so you take something that's broken into the conversation and the zeitgeist in a world of 500 scripted shows, and it becomes way about them that they feel a desperate need to bring this definition of fun down.
Yeah.
I'll be damned if I'm going to, like, wow. And so I do start to feel like this is incredible also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fighting
We're
so
on a
hard.
show that this high-profile journalist has made it their life's
mad.
goal.
Mission.
Yeah. All right. It's time for Kevin's pop quiz between 5 and 15 points possible for each of the 3 questions. Once the
wow.
final score is tabulated, it will be posted on our website along with the current standing of the top 100. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Question number 1. And answer whoever thinks of an answer first, since there's 2 of you. Question number 1, Keith David or David Keith?
Keith
Keith
David.
David.
Correct. Question number 2, Carl Weathers or the weather in Carlsbad?
The weather in
Carl
Carlsbad.
Weathers.
I like that you disagree,
No.
and only one of you is correct. Last question. Who
is it?
Steve?
Yes.
Should put his pants on.
Also both correct. We've got a perfect score. We've got a perfect score. Oh my, congratulations. How exciting for both of you. Steve, question mark. Again, the 2 answers. The first answer being yes. Second answer, needs to put his pants on. Thank you both so very much
Thank you so much.
for spending a very wet Monday with us, Sam and I.
Thanks.
Thank you, Sam
having us.
Kiefer, the
Thank you,
engineer to
Sam.
the stars.
Always my pleasure.
And Hannah Crichton, who brought us together.
Yes.
Or Hannah. I should probably say Hannah because she'd probably prefer it. What do you think? Sam's giving me either works.
Sure.
Yeah, the show has I booked it myself for 9 years, and then Earwolf hired someone, and she's brilliant. And she's amazing.
That's amazing.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she doesn't care how you pronounce her name, Hannah.
Yeah, no, apparently she doesn't. It took me 16 weeks to be able to say Crichton with any sort of confidence. And she said, well, I am related to Michael Crichton, knowing this will help you
Oh, my
remember
gosh.
Dum Dum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse
Even if it's
me.
not true, it has helped me
Excuse me,
remember.
Hannah.
Is she very tall? He was
is
so
very
tall.
tall.
Then she is.
It's a fact.
That's right. Yeah. Thank you both very, very
Thank
much.
you.
Honestly and truly.
Thank you so much.
That's our show for today. And keep writing to us at kpcsfanmail@gmail.com. I want to thank Corey Levin in Post. And also Matt, who works his ass off on behalf of the show in so many ways. Until next time, and as always, get out of my face.